What if the greatest miracle ever witnessed didn't lead to celebration, but to a deadly conspiracy? What if the moment that proved divine power beyond doubt became the reason powerful leaders decided someone had to die? And what if the story of hope, faith, and resurrection suddenly turned into a secret plan for murder? After Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead in Bethany, word spread quickly. The event had been witnessed by many people. Friends, neighbors, and mourners had seen Lazarus walk out of the tomb after 4 days in death. It was impossible to ignore. The miracle was public, dramatic, and undeniable. For many who were present, this moment strengthened their faith. They saw the power of Jesus with their own eyes and believed that he truly came from God. The miracle confirmed what Jesus had been teaching all along, that he was the resurrection and the life. But not everyone responded with faith. Some people who witnessed the miracle did something very different. Instead of believing, they went straight to the religious authorities in Jerusalem and reported everything that had happened. These authorities were the Pharisees and the chief priests, powerful leaders responsible for maintaining religious order among the people of Israel. When they heard the reports about Lazarus, they called together a meeting of the council, known as the Sanhedrin. The leaders faced a difficult decision. The news spreading across the region was alarming to them. Jesus was gaining more attention with every miracle. His teachings attracted large crowds. Now the raising of Lazarus had created even greater excitement among the people. The council began discussing the situation seriously. "What are we accomplishing?" they asked one another. "Here is this man performing many signs." Their concern was not whether the miracle was real. The reports were too strong and too widespread to deny. Instead, their concern focused on what would happen next. "If we let him continue like this," they said, "everyone will believe in him." From the perspective of faith, that statement might sound like something positive, but for the leaders it represented a threat. At that time, the land of Israel was under the control of the Roman Empire. Roman authorities allowed Jewish leaders to manage religious affairs, but they closely monitored anything that might lead to political unrest or rebellion. The council feared that if large numbers of people began following Jesus as the Messiah, it might attract the attention of Rome. If the Romans believed a movement was forming around a new king, they might respond with military force. The leaders worried about losing their authority, their position, and possibly even their nation's fragile peace under Roman rule. So the conversation turned from concern to strategy. Among the council was a man named Caiaphas, who served as the high priest that year. He spoke with a tone of authority and urgency. "You know nothing at all," he said to the others. Then he offered a chilling conclusion. "You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." With these words, Caiaphas argued that eliminating Jesus would protect the nation from potential disaster. In his mind, sacrificing one life was a small price compared to the possibility of Roman intervention. But the Gospel writer John reveals something deeper behind those words. Caiaphas did not realize that his statement carried a meaning beyond his own intention. As high priest, he unknowingly spoke a prophecy. It was true that one man would die for the people. But the death of Jesus would not simply preserve political stability. It would become the foundation of salvation for many. Caiaphas intended his words as a political solution, yet they pointed toward God's larger plan. From that day forward, the council made a decision. They began actively plotting to take Jesus' life. The miracle that demonstrated power over death had now triggered a plan for murder. The tension in the story continues to grow. Because the leaders had made their intentions clear, Jesus no longer moved openly among the crowds near Jerusalem. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim, where he stayed with his disciples. This withdrawal was not an act of fear. Rather, it reflected the timing of events that were unfolding according to God's purpose. Jesus understood what was coming. Throughout his ministry, he had spoken about the moment when he would give his life. The opposition from the religious leaders was not surprising to him. It was part of the path leading toward the final events of his mission. Meanwhile, another major event on the Jewish calendar was approaching, the Passover. Passover was one of the most important festivals for the Jewish people. It commemorated the time when God delivered the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Families traveled from many regions to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast. As the festival approached, crowds began gathering in the city. Many people who came to Jerusalem were curious about Jesus. His teachings had spread across the land, and stories of his miracles, including the raising of Lazarus, had reached many ears. In the temple courts and throughout the city, people asked one another questions. Do you think he will come to the festival? There was a sense of anticipation in the air. Some hoped to see him. Others simply wondered what might happen if he appeared in a city filled with pilgrims and watched carefully by the authorities. But the chief priests and Pharisees had already made their decision. They issued orders that if anyone discovered where Jesus was staying, they must report it immediately so that he could be arrested. The tension surrounding Jesus was now visible everywhere. On one side were the crowds who listened to his teachings and witnessed his miracles. Many of them believed he was sent by God. On the other side were powerful leaders determined to stop him before his influence spread further. This conflict reveals something important about the nature of truth and power. Jesus had just performed one of the most astonishing miracles in Scripture, raising a man who had been dead for 4 days. For many people, that miracle inspired faith, but for others, it triggered fear. When people feel their authority or control is threatened, they may resist even the clearest evidence. The leaders were not ignorant of the miracle. They had heard the reports. They knew the impact it was having. Yet instead of seeking the truth behind Jesus' power, they focused on protecting their position. History shows that this pattern repeats often. Truth can challenge systems of power. Genuine change can threaten established authority. And sometimes, those who feel threatened respond with resistance rather than reflection. The story of this plot against Jesus also highlights the difference between human plans and God's purposes. The religious leaders believed they were solving a political problem. They thought eliminating Jesus would restore stability, but their actions were unknowingly guiding events towards something far greater. The death they planned would eventually lead to a resurrection that changed the course of history. The attempt to silence Jesus would become the moment when his message spread even further. This part of the gospel reminds readers that human opposition cannot ultimately stop God's plan. Even when events appear dark or dangerous, the larger story continues moving toward its intended purpose. As Passover approached, the stage was being set for the final days of Jesus' earthly ministry. The city of Jerusalem would soon be filled with pilgrims. Religious leaders would be watching carefully, and Jesus, fully aware of the danger waiting for him, would still walk toward the events that lay ahead. The raising of Lazarus had revealed his power over death. The plot against his life revealed the cost of confronting darkness with truth. The tension between these two realities would soon reach its climax. But for those who read this story, it raises an important question. When faced with truth, how will we respond? Will we allow it to transform us, as many did when they witnessed the miracle of Lazarus? Or will we resist it out of fear, like the leaders who chose control over faith? The story of the plot to kill Jesus is not only about the past. It reflects the choices that people continue to make when confronted with the message of Christ. Power or humility, control or faith, fear or truth. These are decisions that every generation must face. And the events that follow in the gospel will reveal just how far some were willing to go in order to silence the one who spoke with authority and compassion. If this exploration of the Gospel of John helped you understand the deeper meaning behind these powerful events, thank you for watching. Please remember to like this video, follow the Holy Path Insights channel for more biblical insights, and share this video with someone who enjoys learning about Scripture. Your support helps more people discover these important stories. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.